Hey folks, welcome to another Ask Us Anything LifterLMS live call. You just saw Emily jogging down the hallway. So Emily, welcome to the call. My name is Kurt. We'll be here for the next hour or so answering questions and doing the things that we do with LifterLMS. I can see that there's some people stepping in here. And so if you are joining the call, I want to encourage you, put your questions into chat. Also, just use the chat. Tell us who you are, where you're from, things like that. We like to acknowledge people, let people know that we see them and interact and do that kind of thing. One of those is one of our regulars. Delphine is with us today. She is from Merritt, British Columbia, up in Canada. Thanks for coming, Delphine. You're always so reliable. That's good to see. And then questions. So some people had the ability to put questions into a form when they registered to come to this live. And so there's that ability there. So we have a question that we'll bring over from that form. We've already got one of those. If you have questions, go ahead and put them into the chat so that we can, obviously discuss the things that you've got that we can bring up. And then the other thing that I want to go over is let's take this off the screen and let's go here and put up the try link, lifterlms.com/try. lifterlms.com/try. We have a 30-day hosted demo that you can that you can purchase for $1. It's $1. You purchase it for $1. It's hosted. So you don't have to worry about setting up your own WordPress instance or anything like that. Boom, you get this thing, it's hosted. You have access to it like an administrator. You can add plugins. You can do different things with it. And so it costs $1. And it has the LifterLMS Infinity add-ons attached to it. And it's fully populated. So it's got sample student data. It's got sample course data. It's got all of this stuff in there so that you can play with a LifterLMS website that's built, right? One of the hardest things that I'm seeing in the last week or two in dealing with clients or people that I see through support is that they know they want a learning management system. They know they want to put courses online. They know that they think they can grow a business or membership business in this platform. But there's a lot of questions like, how does it really work? And what does it really feel like? How does this thing look, taste, and feel? The best way to do that is lifterlms.com/try. Spend $1, get access for 30 days to it, and get to play with it. Now, let me go one step further, because I actually had to bring someone down off a ledge last week about this. Somebody said, this demo doesn't work for me. I was looking at, it was either the Earth bundle or the Universe bundle, right? And so the Infinity bundle has all of our add-ons. Ooh, pardon me. The Infinity bundle has all of our add-ons. Everything's in there. Social learning, groups, all this stuff is in there. And the person that wanted to do this demo said, well, this isn't going to work for me. I need one for, Universe or Earth bundle or whatever it was they were looking at. Folks, that's the beauty of LifterLMS. Just go into the plugins, deactivate the tools that you don't want to use, and then you will see a fully populated example of LifterLMS that is what you wanted. So if you're not going to use social learning, deactivate it. If you're not going to use private areas, deactivate it. If you're not going to use groups, deactivate it. And then it's all there. But if you want to test it, if you want to try it, if you want to see if it meets your use case, reactivate it, play with it. Maybe you want to do the Universe bundle, but add social learning. Maybe you want to do the Universe bundle, but you realize that you really need groups to sell to groups of people. Maybe you don't want to pay for the whole Infinity package. Maybe you just want to do the Universe bundle and one or two other things. So there are ways that you can play with this, and I want to encourage you to do that. And I know that I went a little bit long today on that, but that's one of the things that has been coming up in the last 2 weeks. And I thought, man, let's just get that recorded and where it's going to get replayed, because I think more and more people need to hear that. And then lastly, there's a 55% off coupon. If you watch us here or you watch the replay and you're like, man, I think I want to do this, reward yourself. Go to lifterlms.com/AMA-gift. There's a 55% off coupon there. Use that for any of your purchases that you want to make. lifterlms.com/AMA-gift. gift. Emily, I'm already tired. I spoke too much. What's going on with you? You're in a new space.
I'm in a new space. I got a new apartment. I've got my painting of handsome Squidward on the wall over here. So if we turn this direction, you can see over there
There you go.
very faintly, bringing the youthful vibes. I've got my classic LifterLMS mug from the good old days here.
I don't have one of those.
I'm cooking with gravy. Yeah, this is, we can just print one of these. Like, I mean, this is, they still have this asset in the Canva probably. But yeah, this is like 2014. So I'm feeling good. Unfortunately, the lifter mug doesn't have anything in it, so we're gonna fix that right now. Maybe
I don't blame you.
Yeah.
I've had my 3 cups of coffee and my goblet of water, so I'm like, okay, I've got to slow down, or else I'm going to be excusing myself from the call.
Yeah.
Well, let's jump in with a question from Elijah. I didn't pre-read it because, let's just be honest, Elijah, it was too dang long. It says, hi, I'm Elijah. I'm Elijah Quick. That's a cool name. I'm Elijah Quick. You could be a hitman. Anyway, the concrete protector. We're currently using LifterLMS Universe on our training site at this website. The site was built a long time ago, and while barely functional, it lacks good design and ease of use. We're now planning on a full revamp as part of our I Learn initiative, which stands for Incredible Learning. Okay, I'm picking up a lot of vibes here. With the new system, we're splitting training into 2 distinct sections. The boots, practical, hands-on courses, and showing how to use our product systems and apply them to floors, everything contractor flooring related, and then the suits. So you have the boots and the suits. Okay, I'm playing with you, Eli. We're gonna go down this rabbit hole and see where we're getting to. More academic, business-focused content covering how to grow and manage a business, including okay, all the leadership stuff. Our goal is to create a masterclass style experience that is easy to navigate. We envision iLearn as a comprehensive training and development platform that merges the practical boots and strategic suit supports through workshops and masterminds. And God knows, is there more? And I'm okay. I'm not seeing the end. Elijah, I'm going to sound, oh my goodness. If you're watching this, you're going to think, oh my God, this guy's mean. I'm not mean. Here's the deal. We're talking about LifterLMS. LifterLMS is a platform. It's a learning management system. Okay. So can you have unlimited courses inside your learning management system? Yeah, absolutely. You want to have boots and suits courses? That's great. You want to have a leadership course? You want to have a how to pull nails out of reclaimed barnwood? You can do that, right? So we can have different types of courses, unlimited courses. Furthermore, LifterLMS comes with course management, but it also comes with membership management. So let's say I have a boots membership and I have a suits membership. In that boots membership, I could automatically enroll everybody that's a hands-on person into a hands-on, type of curriculum, right? Now, I am a big fan of blended learning. I didn't see that in the question, right? But I kind of understand it when you're saying like workshops and stuff like that. So I'm a big fan of blended learning, which means I'm going to use the platform to convey theory. I'm going to use the platform to share information. I'm going to use the platform to maybe visually display certain techniques. And then I'm going to use workshops or practicums or whatever you want to call them for in-person. Let me see some tools in your hands and know that you can actually do this stuff. I used to be the training manager for Ducati, the motorcycle company, and I was the training manager for Suzuki, the motorcycle company. And I wrote the training curriculum for the service departments at BRP. So I'm very familiar with the idea of let's create as much theory as we can online. We want to just cram as much knowledge into people's brains as possible before we suffer the expense of bringing them to an in-person, hands-on workshop environment. And then when we have them in a hands-on workshop environment, we want that time to be as productive and efficient as possible. So we're using the platform to share as much theory as possible and then creating a workshop for I actually want to steal your term. What was that? The I learning was incredible learning, right? So we want to have an incredible learning experience. Yeah, absolutely. Your question is coming through as like a marketing slash director of learning, right? It's coming through with like the words and the flavors of like how you want it to look and feel, and the user experience. I totally understand that. I get it. But on this call, we're really just talking about like, okay, what does Lifter LMS actually do? So you could create the courses, right? The theory courses, you can create those. You can even use the course and lesson structure to run your practicums or your workshops. You can say, hey, everybody, use your phone and log in. And then at the end of the day, log in and mark yourself complete. And then you could actually automate the reporting and certificate process and all of that. This could all be done through Lifter LMS straight out of the box, like just straight out of the box. Create as many courses as you want, create as many memberships as you want to split people up. You can use the memberships to either auto enroll people into the courses so that when they go to their dashboard, they've got 15 courses you want them to take on how to lay floor, tile, hardwood, pergola, whatever. You can do that, or you could say access to this course is free with this membership, right? And then let them self enroll as long as they're part of the membership that's assigned to that course. You can do it either way. You could also do groups. I'm assuming that the boots and the suits are referencing, pardon me, different entities. So let's say that I am running a giant international flooring distribution business, and I've got suits that those would be regional sales reps, those would be marketing representatives, those would be different presidents and vice presidents and junk like that, onboarding for people to come in at the office level. But then I'm going to have people in the field, hundreds, thousands of people in the field, and they're going to work for different sub distributors, retailers, or whatever. So let's say I've got XYZ flooring over here, and I've got 123 flooring over here, and I've got MNO flooring over here, right? And each of those has like 50 workers. Well, I don't have to create like a separate account for each of those 150 people. What I can actually do is create 3 groups, and I can say, hey, who's the contact person at 123? Who's the contact person at XYZ? And who's the contact person at MNO, right? And then that contact person, I say, hey, here's your group page. You've got 50 seats to give out. Assign your people, and you can actually see the reporting for the progress of those 50 people right here in your group page under reporting, right? And so I see that you're asking the question, but the question's not asking me a specific. So I think what the question is will Lifter LMS do what I want to do to have an incredible learning experience with boots and suits? I think the answer is yeah, almost straight out of the box. And then think about things you might want to add. Like, do you want to have custom messaging through a CRM tool? Add a CRM tool. Do you want to have gamification that's more than what we offer with engagements? Like, do you want to do something special for people, or have like a leaderboard, or prizes, or earn credits, or whatever? Yeah, then put in GamiPress, because that integrates with us just fine. You can do whatever you want, Elijah. And I may have made it sound oversold, but based on what you've written here as these 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 7 paragraphs, everything that you're talking about doing is right out of the box. Emily, thoughts?
I agree.
I agree.
I agree. There's a lot of ways to serve a lot of people when you're using, multi-tenant software like Lifter, where you can have many courses, many users. You can format it so many different ways, memberships and everything. Is that Elijah Quick? Because looks like they're in the chat as well. So sorry, the long message. My manager wanted me to send that. LOL. I understand that.
Managers.
Right.
I used to be a corporate training director. I understand, Elijah. I'm giving you grief, but it comes from the heart.
Very impressed with the possibilities, and I was told it was able to attend the meeting to confirm with Lifter directly. Yeah, a lot of different setups. We can give you more specific answers if you have some more specific use case questions too. But yeah.
The idea that I run into a lot with folks that are coming from, perfect example, like maybe you have a lot of SCORM content, you have some old school LMS that your company's paying way too much money for. There's going to be limitations, like the site will play the SCORM content and then it connects to like this learning record store thing where it's kind of like forcing that data into some kind of a reporting structure. So you can host the SCORM content, you see the reporting structure, and that's all the LMS does. Like, and there's companies that are paying quite literally 200, 300, $400,000 a year to have a website that does that. And it's like a paradigm shift to come over to the WordPress marketplace, see the different plugins that are available, and then land with LifterLMS and see that we actually have content for like running SCORM or for getting reporting from SCORM. But you're not just building a SCORM LMS website at that point. See, the thing that I love about coming over, that the thing I love about dismissing those old platforms is you're freeing up hundreds of thousands of dollars. Like that's the part that I a big portion of my business is helping people convert from those high paying, outdated, ugly, ineffective websites to something modern in the WordPress world. And when I take someone and say, hey, and this is from my agency perspective, so the numbers are going to seem a little bit weird, but if you're like, hey, you're used to paying $300,000 a year for this, my company can build it for you in WordPress, host it and maintain it for you. You're going to spend less than $100,000 a year, and we're going to give you incredible service on the back end for this thing. Like, and then understand that instead of just running that SCORM content, you have a full content management system as the envelope around the LMS. So now you can have a home page, a services page. You can have a blog for your users. You can put out new content. You can put out a newsletter and send it through a CRM directly through the website. You can do all kinds of stuff that you couldn't do before. And so when I'm talking to somebody or taking questions from somebody, especially someone like in Elijah's position that says, oh, my manager said to send that, that's like giant red flag, right? This is a corporate thing. This is corporation. This is corporate training. They probably have SCORM content. They probably have some outdated training website. He said he was using Lifter. Maybe the Lifter just wasn't developed enough, right? Using Lifter LMS Universe. Maybe you just didn't look at all the options that Lifter would do, and you were using that old kind of like LMS structure, like let's just put the courses in there and we'll figure out the rest later. That happens a lot in corporate space where they're like, just get the lessons to work and we'll figure out the rest later. And then later comes 5, 6, 7 years later because you're used to those old outdated systems and you're not making that recollection or the acknowledgement that we can do so much more with the tools that we have right out of the box. Adam Silver's with us. He says, hi, y'all going to WordCamp US? Okay, I have an excuse. I'm in Kansas. I'm not going. I don't want to go to Portland. I just don't want to go to Portland. Emily, are you going to WordCamp US?
I don't plan to. Right.
It's like you could commute.
I could commute, right? But then it's like I'm paying for multiple days, like at Airbnb. And I guess I have my car now, so I could just drive down there pretty easily. But I don't know. It's just not the same without the whole like Lifter team. It was years ago, like the whole Lifter team would fly out to these conferences, and it would be like a party. We'd have a whole Airbnb for multiple days. But now it's just kind of like, hey, I'm an individual at this conference. I don't really have much to promote with my WordPress business, but I'm happy to be here with the community. But I don't know. I'm just kind of like, if the whole Lifter team would go, I would definitely go.
I don't think I will ever have a WordPress experience as the time we went to San Diego, had the Airbnb, hung out as a team. Natalie was with us. She was awesome. Cheese boards, drinks, music, parties. Some jerk made a steak dinner. We got to eat, we got to have fun, we got to get to know each other, in person instead of just on Zoom and StreamYard. It was such a cool event. And this is back when Thomas was with the company, but Thomas and Chris were both unbelievably generous in their space and connections at that event. Like anyone that came up to speak to either one of them got an introduction to one of us. Like they were just so generous and so open and invited us to everything. Like we went to every party, we met every vendor, we saw every person. It was a great event. And then to your point, I've gone to a couple of WordCamps, more solo. And it's like, okay, so now I'm like some fly on the wall and nobody's happy or celebrating that I'm here. Kind of takes the wind out of the sails.
It does. It does.
Elijah is back. He says, that answer was a huge help. I really just needed yeah, that'll work from someone other than me to present to my boss. I don't have too many questions as of now, but I'll probably have some if the production gets greenlit. I hope the production does get greenlit. And Elijah, at the beginning of this, when we first went live today, I had said, I was talking about the LifterLMS.com/try, LifterLMS.com/try. And that is the $1 30-day, blah, blah, blah. So if you're going to go in and say that you're going to pitch to a room full of VPs, instead of pitching ideas, like instead of pitching concepts, you could go in with one of these demo sites. Maybe you reserve it a week before the meeting. You play with it for a few hours. And then when you go into the meeting, you could just go, hey, let me give you a screen share of what one of these demo sites can do. And then you can say, look, like and you can create whatever you want because it's your site. So you could say, here's a Boots membership. Here's a Suits membership. Here's the courses I've pre-assigned to those 2 memberships. Anyone that gets signed up for either one of those memberships automatically gets enrolled in those courses. Here's a schedule where I've been able to use the same system to put in our projected workshops and record attendance automatically. And here's how I'm able to give out certificates automatically based on successful completion or a successful score on the practicum test at the end of each workshop. Like, boom, you could do that. I did that when I worked at a large motorcycle company. I basically pulled them in an office and said, this is what you're working with. This is what I can build you. And I can save you $380,000 this month for the year. Like, you want to do this or not? They had the choice to say yes or no. Like they could say, Kurt, I'm not ready for that kind of change yet. Or they could say, hey, thanks for doing your homework. At least we know you're thinking, right? But there's like no negative to that. There's absolutely no negatives to coming in and saying, let's see what we can do here. And then newsflash, if you get familiar with the demo site, it just makes it easier for you to build the other site. And then someone put in an unhappy face. I don't know why someone put in an unhappy face.
That's Adam Silver, who is sad.
Oh, he's sad because we're not going?
Yes.
Fine. Be that way. Adam, I'll tell you what. I will hop in my SWAT truck and I will drive to it's North Carolina that I think you live in, right? I'll go to North Carolina and we can have some hibiscus tea on somebody's deck and look at nature in the woods. And then I can bring my mountain bike and ride alongside of you as you run for 50 miles somewhere. That could be like an awesome weekend. And if you got a big enough yard, I'll just sleep in your yard inside my camper van. Like, it'll be great. Or stay at a state park or something. But I would rather do that than go to Portland. He says, that sounds lovely. All right. Let's see what we got going on in here. We had someone higher up in the list. I want to pull them out. It looks like Callie. All right. So first off, Callie, I see you. David Middleton, I see you. I'm having a TikTok moment for myself. There's you ever watch DJs on TikTok?
Probably, yeah.
I love the DJs on TikTok. And there's this one guy, he's a gentleman of color, but he plays music that I just absolutely love. And he has this really deep voice and he's got this cadence to him, right? He'd be like, you put in a comment. So Callie puts in a comment. He'd be like, hey, Callie, I see you. What it do? And he just does that all day. I love him. I could watch him for hours. I'm mesmerized by this guy. What it do? All right. Hi, guys. We want to take full advantage of the group function. That's a good call. In the website, it mentions that a person from the LifterLMS team can help us and guide us solve some issues, questions we have. We are aware of third-party Lifter experts, but we are hesitant to trust them and want the professional team from LifterLMS to help us. Is this an option? I think that there is a little weirdness in the question or the assumptions. Callie, unless something has changed, and I want to be as gracious but as clear as I can possibly be. I'm an expert in the experts listing. Emily is an expert in the experts listing. My listing isn't under my name. I probably should change that. My listing is under Mañana No Mas because that's my agency name. So both of us are in the agent's listing. So if you're like, I want one of the LifterLMS professionals, boom, here we are, right? So I'm Mañana No Mas. Emily, are you under Emily or a WP Course Guide?
I have no clue, but one of the two of those, definitely.
One of the two of those. So Emily's either under Magic Emily Middleton or WP Course Guide. The other side of the coin is, remember, all those experts in there have been vetted by somebody at LifterLMS. So there's not too much to be nervous about, but like some of them are into making custom code, some of them into making custom plugins, and others, like myself, I'm more like, hey, how do we use this thing out of the box and really get the most of it without having to make too much custom stuff? And so that's kind of the way I generally try to go. Everyone's a little bit different. The other side of the coin, LifterLMS put this thing out, I want to say a few months ago at this, maybe it was a year ago. I don't know. Is it software services? I want to make sure I find the right page. There it is. It's lifterlms.com services. I'm going to put that in our chat, right? So I'm going to say Lifter Services, Shazam. All right. It doesn't really say Shazam. I said Shazam. So there we go. lifterlms.com/services. This particular page, this is fairly new for us. We were not in the habit of making websites for people. We were selling a plugin that people would add to their websites. But we found that people are like, hey, if I buy the Infinity platform, are you going to help me set this up? Right. So there's like a do-it-yourself kind of thing, and then you can do it yourself. Then there's the done with you, right? So instead of paying $10,000 for the lifetime Infinity bundle, you would pay $12,000 for the Infinity lifetime bundle. But then you get LMS software setup, your brand and your colors get injected in for you. We put some demo content in there for you. There's a one-on-one coaching call that's part of that. And then, of course, you still get the weekly office hours that we do 2 hours after this call starts, right? So every Thursday, Emily and myself also host the office hours call where people from all over the globe come in that have either the Universe bundle or the Infinity bundle, and they can ask questions, and it's kind of a group thing to come up with solutions and stuff like that. And then there's what they call the Warp Speed. The Warp Speed is $15,000. It again comes with the Infinity bundle, which is a lifetime bundle. They set up the software, they put your brand colors in and stuff like that. Your content gets plugged into the website. So you have content ready. One of our professionals takes that and builds that for you. There's a one-on-one coaching call to kind of walk you through the platform as it's built. And then you still get access to the office hours and all of that. At the risk of sounding like a salesperson, those are the options that LifterLMS had for like actually assisting people one-on-one on their websites outside of the expert program. The other option, of course, is if you have Universe, if you have Infinity, you have access to groups, you're going to have access to support. And so if you are building out your groups or you're doing something and you have a specific question like, how do I attach a membership to the group? Or how do I attach a course to the group? Or what's the difference between attaching a membership and a course to the group? You can ask through support, or quite honestly, it's in the knowledge base too. So there's a lot to consider in there. Again, if you go to the experts listing, Emily's in there, Kurt's in there. There's a bunch of other great people in there too. So I'm certainly not trying to make this a commercial for us. In fact, our job on this call is to try and spread the wealth as much as possible and all of that. So we see that. You had another question said, we have the lifetime LifterLMS package, and we wanted to know if a solution to some issues with our course surveys. Are we referring to quizzes? I think Maybe that would be quizzing, right? We have not been able to implement these without having a score of 0 for all of our users. Most of them are confused about this score, and we get constant calls about it. We've watched all the videos, but still have not found a solution. So you're talking about an unscored quiz. You want to give someone an unscored quiz so that they don't need a requirement to pass and they can move on to the next lesson, I think is what you're trying to do. If you're actually doing just a survey, sometimes I find it's easier to just use one of the form integrations to build the survey and then get all the responses through the forms entries menu. So there's, like anything else in WordPress, there are 17 ways to skin this cat. If it's just a survey and it's not a quiz or a test, I would be really tempted to use a form tool, integrate that form tool so that they have to complete the form in order to mark the lesson complete and embed the form inside the lesson. But Emily, you might have a different solution. What would you think?
There's a few different ways to do surveys, like you said, the quizzes or the forums. I like the form solution because you can do that with the free forms add-ons as long as you're a Universe Bundle subscriber or higher, like Universe or Infinity. You'll have access to the forms integrations from Lifter, so you can require, like Kurt said, require students to complete forms before submitting a lesson, and then you can use the free Ninja form, WP form, Formidable form in order to have students submit that to you. There's also integrations with like WS Form. They have their own Lifter integrations that do something similar with some more advanced features. But yeah, I like forms for surveys. The 0% quiz thing is always kind of like confusing.
Yeah.
But if you have a quiz at the end of your course, I think it makes sense to have a few quiz questions that are not graded. So you have 10 questions, you add 2 more, 5 more that are survey ungraded. That would make sense because then they would still receive a grade for their quiz based on the other questions. But if you're purely 100% looking for a survey, I like the forms extensions.
You just hit on that blended model. I've used that a ton. When you have advanced quizzes, you get the scale question. And so the scale question could be like, on a scale of 1 to 10, how did you enjoy your course? On a scale of 1 to 10, do you feel the instructor, met your needs? On a scale of 1 to 10. And so if you had 10 questions, that were scored, then you could create those scale questions to get their opinion, but not score those questions. And then when they get that results page, they're going to see the actual score of their test, but you're going to have the additional data of the unscored questions and the results. Sometimes that's a really good way to go. And then Callie says, got it. Thank you. We will take a look. We saw many foreign experts and wanted to ensure that there is some assurance about the services they provide. Yeah, whether they're in the country or not. Because remember, we are a global product. I still have a hard time wrapping my head around that sometimes, Callie. We serve people all over the globe. For some reason, I get all the people from Italy, which is cool because I love Italy. But we saw many foreign experts, not uncommon. The thing to rest assured with on the experts page is it's not something you kind of like sign up for and automatically get. We vet people to make sure that they actually use the platform and have a skill set for it. And then she says, that is correct. Unscored quiz, we treat it as a survey. Yeah, the idea of a blended quiz, like Emily pointed out, because I can't believe I didn't verbalize that. That is a really great option. Like I said, you still give them kind of like that dopamine hit of I passed or I got a high score or whatever. But then you get that extra information that you were asking for as part of the survey, and it's all part of the submitted results within the quiz. So that's a really good way to go. Now, I do want to give a shout out to somebody named Dango. Dango's coming to us from Discord. He says, yo, bro, you're doing well, bro. So we got that. Loves the stream. So I'm going to assume you've seen the stream more than once. We've been going out to Discord for a while. Is it Discord or am I thinking Twitch? I'm lost. I think
this is Twitch. They did put in comments, let's connect on Discord.
Yeah, let's hit up on Discord. I'm going to be real honest with you, Dango. I'm old. You and I have the same color beard, but I'm going to use age as an excuse. I hate Discord. I almost hate Discord as much as I hate Slack, but I have to use Slack because I have clients that demand it. But so far, none of my clients have demanded Discord, so I've been able to put that one off. Adam says, that sounds lovely. Hugs all around. This is good. I'm having a good day today. Let's see what else we got. We have someone further up, a David Middleton. David, welcome to the call. Let's slap your question up here. David is from Chicagoland. He's up there with Uncle Spence. You know Spencer Foreman?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's up there with Uncle Spence. Hello, Dave from Chicagoland. I had a question on the certificate date and when people retake the test, updating the earned date. We use the program for healthcare compliance training, bloodborne pathogens, HIPAA, etc. Some have 1-year retakes, some are 3-year retakes. I read about cohorts. That seems to be a lot of work for a course that do not change often. My simple question is, if I change the earned date on the certificate template to current date, does it fix that? No. There, simple question. Simple question. Easy answer. No.
Yeah.
That's one of the things that really bugs me. Emily, you tell them how it bugs you.
Oh, well, when you trigger an earning of a certificate or you trigger an engagement in LifterLMS is a certificate system, and I could do a screen share if you want to see more on this, but it's based on the engagement occurring, and you can only trigger those one time. So that's why you have to clone your course with cohorts and make a new engagement in order to have a second certificate be issued to them. And there's probably some kind of like code snippet or something that could be done custom to get around this. But that's the underlying logic of how Lifter works out of the box, is that you can only run an engagement one time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so we don't have an expires on date. We have a issued date. And so a lot of people in continuing education would say this certificate expires 365 days from this issue date or something like that. Like usually that's the kind of verbiage that we'll see on the certificates. I'm a big fan of the cohorts, and because we have that new cohort tool that came out a couple of years ago, it made it much easier. And I like the idea of the cohorts because let's say I have a course that's certified in 2020, and then I have a course that recertified in 2023, and then I'm going to have a course that's going to recertify in 2026. If my cohort, even if it's the same course and it got cloned, but I retitled it 2020, 2023, 2026, even if I don't keep those courses in the course catalog, those courses still display in the student's dashboard. And so there's a certain amount of continuity in the user experience. Whereas if I just changed the title and tried to reissue a certificate off the same course, it's not, the user experience for the student isn't as clean. So cloning is easy. It takes just a couple minutes, right? So you can clone the course. You can remove the original version of the course from the catalog. The new version of the course is now in the catalog. And then even if it's removed from the catalog, it still stays in the dashboard. So if someone took the course in 2020, it's there. If they took it in 2023, it's there. If they took it in 2026, it's going to be there. That to me is the best practice for a student user experience. Some people don't care, but that's kind of the way I look at it. What else do we got? What else do we got? What else do we got? Elijah said that answer was a huge help. I think we already called that one out though, didn't we? It's going to get greenlit. Elijah, just get greenlit. Don't mess around. I used to do something when I worked corporately. I used to have issues like where upper management was like, oh, I don't know if we want to use that platform or not. They would just kind of get like poo-pooish. I would literally just build it anyway and then kind of like ask for forgiveness after the fact. It was so much easier to ask for forgiveness than permission. But I'm kind of a blockheaded employee. There's a reason why I'm self-employed now. I might be emotionally unemployable from a corporate position. What else do you want to talk about, Emily? People are leaving us high and dry now with the comments and questions.
Yeah. I want to ask a question myself about how is the microphone quality? Is it doing all right?
You're doing fine.
Okay.
You're doing fine.
I set up the microphone on the counter, nowhere else to set it up. But we do have some more questions coming in, or at least comments. Elijah, I've done that before, and I'd be cooked if I tried it again to ask for forgiveness instead of permission.
Yeah, just fire that puppy up. Just have at it. When I worked at Suzuki, I'll make a long story short. When I worked at Suzuki, there's multiple divisions. There's automotive, there's motorcycle, there's marine. And the motorcycle division was run by people that were not very progressive. They were like, no, we're not ready for that kind of change yet. The marine division, they were like cowboys, boy. They were like, poo, 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 poo. Like, hey, whatever goes, goes. And I decided that they were spending way too much time between signing a dealership and actually training the dealership on how to be a dealer, because they were trying to do it all in person, like handshakes and eye contact and relationship. And I said, hey, what if we just created an online course that took care of all the onboarding nonsense? Like, these are our policies, our process, our communication systems, and then when our representative shows up for the handshake and the eye contact thing, all the theory's been taught, and now we can increase sales, because now we can focus on sales and product and inventory rather than process. And it wouldn't have been sold if I hadn't have already built it. So I built it, then I proposed the idea, and then when they said, it doesn't make sense, how would that really work? I mean, in practice, it doesn't sound like it'd be worth us doing that. And I said, funny you would ask that question. Look at the screen. And then I was like, there it is. That's what I envision. And the whole platform got bought and done, and the Marine division loved it. So it was kind of a fun thing to do. David is on the call. David Middleton. Got it. Everyone starts at a different time, and thus the year over year is a little bit off. I'm guessing a custom code would be written to use date when issued every time. The certificate gets issued when the student triggers the certificate event. So it's not like everyone gets the certificate on August 1st. So if everyone is doing the course at a different time, a cohort is usually like, here's a group of people, they're doing it at the same time. Here's 20 students, they're doing it at the same time. But the cohort tool in LifterLMS is a really cool tool for cloning a course and automatically taking the old one out of the catalog and putting the new one in the catalog and all that kind of stuff. And so from that perspective, that's why I'm a big fan of the cohorts, David. And you could literally say, this is the cohort class for 2025. This is the cohort class for 2026. And then anyone that completes the course within that time frame, or starts the course within that time frame, when they finish the course and the certificate is issued, the trigger and the date issued is when that happens. So whenever they finish the course, whether they finish the course in January or they finish the course in December, it's going to say, issued January 1st, or, issued December 24th before Christmas break. It's going to boom. And so I don't think you have to worry too much about when people access the cohort built course. I think your focus was more on how many days or years is the certificate valid from the date of issue. And I think that you would be kind of fixed in that way. I might be oversimplifying it. It's happened before. I'm not going to lie. I've oversimplified things before.
And the custom code, what it would do is override Lifter's restriction on only triggering engagement one time. Now, of course, if you were to have a developer do that, you'd have to verify against LifterLMS's engagement system. I just took apart LifterLMS groups for a client and rebuilt it over the summer, and it was like really high-end project. And so it required a lot of discovery into the code of how Lifter works. And so for the engagement system, there would have to be a little bit of discovery of like, how exactly are we being restricted to only earning an engagement one time? And is it possible to simply lift that restriction? Or would we have to add another rule in order to trigger an engagement multiple times? So I don't know if it's an addition to the code or a subtraction from the code. If we're like removing something with a filter, or if we're hooking into something and adding some more actions, stuff like that.
Yeah. All right. Now what do you want to talk about?
My mind is fixated on this question from David now. I mean, you could also look at another system for issuing certificates. You could defer outside of Lifter to Gravity Forms or something like that, or any other certificate building system, and then use LifterLMS's API or something else. Like GamiPress is a good example of a plugin for WordPress that can probably do certificates. They can do just about anything else. Let's look it up. GamiPress certificates. I don't know. I don't see certificates. I see like achievements. GamiPress allows you to award certificates upon completion of certain actions within your WordPress website. I don't know, but there are some potential third-party integrations there too. So you could either use a WordPress expert to integrate with a third party, or maybe a developer could help you consult on using Lifter's exact technology in a little bit of a new way if cohorts is unappealing.
Yeah. I mean, it kind of takes me to Callie's question, that she was talking about with the survey thing, right? Can you find a way to manipulate something in Lifter's infrastructure to make it work? Or would you rather just, quite honestly, just leverage another tool? Would you like to leverage a survey tool, a survey plugin, a quiz plugin, something like that? There's just so many options in WordPress on what you can do with stuff. It's where I get lost, Emily, just being honest, is I try to really focus my projects on like a selection of like 20 plugins that I know are solid, not going to bog my stuff down and not going to cause conflicts and things like that. I think there's so many options in WordPress and so many like odd requests that come through that, like, if you're not careful, your reflex could be like, well, let's see what the repository has. And then you just start plugging willy-nilly stuff in and going, that didn't work, take it out. Plug in another one. That didn't work, take it out. Plug in another one. Yeah. So I try to keep people from doing that. And I keep trying to force a solution with like, what's the known skill set? Like, what's the known entities that I currently work with? And how can I manipulate those effectively rather than try some unknown thing? And you've gone the other way. You're like, I'll just build it myself. I'm tired of looking for stuff.
Yeah. Better to use cohorts versus custom and breaking later. I agree. If you can work with cohorts, do that.
All right.
You're probably looking at, like, for custom coding, it's not going to be less than $1,000. For building something with another tool, you're probably looking at the $500 price range. So if cohorts is something you already have, I would go with that.
I just think cohorts is a pretty clean solution. I've used it on so many projects, and it's a simple thing, because we used to, before cohorts, we would manually clone a course and remove the old one from the catalog, and it would manually do that stuff. Cohorts really just seem to like make it easier to do it. And I've got a ton of clients that use cohorts for different things. It just seems to be a good setup.
Mm-hmm.
It's clean. I like clean. I like simple. I can talk to you about, here's something that's been coming up. People are trying to use the manual payment gateway for all kinds of reasons. There's a ton of reasons why to use the manual payment gateway. But like one use case that's come in the last couple of weeks is for purchase orders. And so I have a client that says, a lot of our clients are going to do group purchases and they want to use a purchase order. So with a purchase order, they're not really sending in a check or a credit card or anything. They're just making like a promise to pay, right? Like a purchase order is like a promise to pay. And so they're using the manual payment gateway so they can say, oh yeah, I want to buy this group with 50 seats in it. And then instead of putting in a credit card, they're hitting like the bill me later and submitting a PO. But the course builders seem to be getting confused over what a manual payment gateway is. And I'm like, it's a manual payment gateway. They're like, well, how do I find the orders? I'm like, it's in the orders screen. Well, how do they get access to the course? Because they didn't get access to the course yet. Well, no, because it's not automated. It's manual. You have to go in and approve it. You have to mark it complete. Like, you're giving away 50 seats of training. You want to make sure you get paid. Has your PO been reconciled yet? Or have you approved the PO? Or like there's it's called a manual payment gateway because it's manual. Have you run into that before, Emily?
Purchase orders are a big question for some of my clients, and like you said, the manual payment gateway is a good way to do it. I know that I have a client right now who wants to integrate with their accounting software so that when the order gets marked complete in the accounting software to automatically do something in Lifter, they have, project budgets in the tens of thousands of dollar range. And so we can kind of take on stuff like that and be like, okay, what would it look like if we were to invest a few $1,000s in developing an integration from the accounting software into Lifter so that it makes a call to create an order market as completed and then trigger what we need to happen. But for smaller project sizes than that, I would just use Lifter's manual order creation, where a team member does have to manually mark orders as completed. That's pretty standard.
Yeah, it's that's kind of the situation that I've run into, and it's been with a couple of clients in the last couple of weeks. And so both of them startups, both of them don't have, high dollar accounting software or a PO system in place on a third party, or an API to connect to, or for WP Fusion to do a recipe with, or something like that. So we went with the manual payment gateway. It would have been really cool to be like, oh yeah, like, let's make it a WooCommerce website and get a PO add-on, and then just do the WooCommerce integration with Lifter. Like, you could do that, Worst came to worst, a guy like me could call Katie Keith and say, hey, I need a WooCommerce plugin that does purchase orders. But they're not in that position yet. So I was like, well, the out of the box, cheapest, most affordable way is to do the manual payment gateway, which comes standard with every LifterLMS installation. And then we set it all up, and then they have a form. Like, so with the manual payment gateway, it comes up with directions to pay. So submit your purchase order, blah blah blah, click here. But they were just really confused. They were like, well, if someone signs up, how do we know they signed up? How do we know? I'm like, well, you have an order screen, you have these things, but it's manual, it's not automated. And that seemed to be like the biggest thing. Flicky VR, no. Really sorry, but could I join and talk to you guys face to face? Please send the invite link. Not going to happen. Just be real honest with you. We used to do this call on Zoom about 2 years ago, and this call used to be called something else, and it got Zoom bombed like crazy. We would say, hey, join us on Zoom and bring your questions live. And because this is broadcast live and to a wide audience on multiple channels, we no longer bring strangers on screen with us because it's a disaster. We just don't do it. Trying to run around the internet to 7 different channels and cancel a video because somebody put anime porn on it is like, it's just a bizarre waste of time. And so we went to the StreamYard example. We have this way to communicate with us, the way that this is. We have help@LifterLMS. So an email address, help@LifterLMS.com. And so you could submit a question. You could include a screenshot there. If it's a matter of like, hey, I need a screenshot. We do have the experts link. So like, if you're one of those users and you're like, I just need someone face to face on a Zoom call to walk me through some things, you can hire one of the experts. They can do that for you. That's not a problem. And then if you are on the Universe or the Infinity bundle, there's an email only invitation that goes out to those members, and they can join the office hours mastermind call. And we do a lot of screen shares in there. There's typically 8 or a dozen people in there. We have conversations, we problem solve, we do screen shares and all of that. But there's a secret to the madness with that call. Everybody is invite only. Everybody knows who is signing into the call. and they're not strangers that were given access to a shared screen on multiple live channels. It's recorded and then the replay is uploaded, provided nobody does anything silly. And so yeah, are we going to share screens on this call? No, it's not going to happen. Sounds harsh, but we've had to learn that one the hard way. And let's see. You're just grinning, Emily, because you're thinking about all those people that Zoom bombed us. It was a nightmare.
I don't know. Flicky VR, you might be legit LifterLMS potential subscriber, but I'm looking at your YouTube channel and I think you might be of the vibe Kurt is discussing. I'm like looking at your, I don't know. I'm just a little like, You have a LifterLMS specific question?
Going once, going twice, because we have 2 minutes left. Oh. All right. I got another thing that I'm gonna, what's this? Build, is this for my person? I hate this new Zoom nonsense. These Zoom message. I get all these Zoom reminder, people trying to scam me and get me to join their webinars and stuff. But it all comes from Zoom, so I don't just put it all to spam, because then I'll miss the ones I am signed up for. For instance, the one that Chris is doing on the perfect offer, I sent that to spam. Didn't go to the meeting because I thought, what's happening? Did you do that?
What's that?
Oh, my screen's just all messed up. I guess never mind. I don't know. I got like this pixelated weird stuff on my screen now. But yeah, so that's there. What I was going to say was yesterday, and this is kind of like relatable to what we do here, and we'll finish this up because we only got a minute left. Etch went on sale again yesterday. Did you know that?
No.
Because it was a closed sale, I jumped in. I was like one of the early adopter. I was all in. And I thought it was going to take like 2-3 years for them to make a product. They've already got a page builder that you can build websites with. I mean, like, it's already working. So I'm really happy about the progress. But they opened it up for sale again yesterday. And so if you're interested in like professional level web design with access to HTML and CSS and style sheets and all that crud right in your workspace, man, it's really cool. I mean, my learning curve is huge because it's not the way I've built websites previously, but I'm really enjoying it. And with that, folks, LifterLMS.com/try. That's where you go if you want to get yourself onto one of our demo sites and see what a fully populated, fully ornamented site looks like to use and play with and build. So LifterLMS.com/try. That is definitely the way to go. I've been pushing that really, really hard lately because people have been asking me a lot of questions, and I'm like, these questions would be answered if you just did the demo site for $1. It's a really great way to learn stuff. The other thing is, if you've gotten this far and you're interested in doing something with us, go ahead and hit us up at LifterLMS.com/AMA-gift. LifterLMS.com/AMA-gift. That'll get you 55% off on anything that you choose to get. And with that, I'm going to end the stream. And folks, have yourselves a wonderful day. We will see you next week.